Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to SKTV. Welcome and welcome to the show. Welcome to today's edition. Today is August 28th, 2022. We want to welcome each and every one of you. Joining us here from Liberia is Johnson Milburn Kula, and we are also on air in Liberia, FM 96.1. We want to welcome each and every one of you. Happy Sunday, happy new week, as we would say. Welcome, and welcome to our listeners and our viewers in Liberia. We will be turning into Johnson Milburn, who will be reaching out to our people from Liberia and speaking to them. But I want to use this opportunity. Maybe I'm getting some feedback.
Yeah.
Great. So we'll be reaching out to Milburn, who will be turning us into Liberia this morning or this afternoon or this night. But we want to say welcome. Our guest is here. She is in the back end. Everything is set, seem ready to go, but we have to go through our normal routine, as we'll say, or our traditional routine. But welcome to the show. Welcome, and welcome. Milburn, what do you say? How are you? How's Liberia, my man? What's going on?
Yeah, so we want to say a happy last Sunday from our end here in Liberia. We want to say good evening to all of our followers on Facebook, especially for those of you in the diaspora that are always following all the happening here in Liberia. Yes, Steve, all is good here in Liberia, even though the rain here, just falling after some time is stopped, but all is well here in Mama Liberia. And yes, we all are happy that at least we are celebrating last Sunday on today, and everybody go to church, so all is good.
Well, we're getting something very interesting here really quick, but let's greet the Liberian people as always. We want to welcome each and every one of you to today's edition. We're playing host today to Tarloh Quiwonkpa, the wife of late Commanding General Thomas Quiwonkpa. Today we are here to have the Liberian people would say, or the French people would say, vis-a-vis, face-to-face conversation with her. We are excited that she has accepted our invite to be here as our guest. But we definitely want to recognize the Liberian people as the most important people on earth. I am not sure if Milburn, his internet seemed to be freezing there, but he's back with us now. But we want to recognize the Liberian people as the most important people on earth. We also want to, as always, recognize the Liberian women as the most beautiful women on earth. And we want to welcome each and every one of you to this edition, to this show. Invite someone, tune in. We might hear some historical facts. We might hear some prevailing facts. And we are also going to be speaking on lots of different national issues, a lot of different national issues. Tarloh has accepted will be here with us today. So invite someone, tell someone that we are here, tune into the show. Milburn, just before we get to the musical break here, how's everything? How the common Buga Denzel? What's going on with the common Buga Denzel?
Yes, and Steve, even though you're moving on with speed, but our people back home, our guest for today is the late Brigadier General or Commanding General Thomas Quiwonkpa. For those of you that know Thomas Quiwonkpa, when you are maybe younger at that time and so on. So his wife will be our guest on today. So we just get that set. Don't turn the radio to another place. No. Yes, all is good. Apart from the latest video that is trending on the social media, sometimes I wonder as to how come, in fact, the young people now and then, in fact, they're not even learning from the old folks now and then. They just doing things that just so inspiring, But that's it, life just had to go on. So life is good here, and the training videos is out there. Yeah, people are dancing to it, people are following it, people, that's just it. So we're good.
My man, I hear say you were dancing kinky leaking last night, my man.
My man, let me tell you, Steve. You know, when someone sent that video to me, first, you know, I was asleep, you know, but when I woke up, I thought, well, what kind of video is this? So when I played it for the first time, I said, no, I had to play the video again. When I played for the second time, you know, I just started getting interest into the video. I said, wow, this guy is very, very talented, you know, making the kicking. I don't know, what kind of video is that? You know, they said, I don't know, we for the one school business.
My man, that sometimes this week we'll get to listen to that song. You know, the song is interesting. That song is very interesting, and I have listened to it. I don't know how many times. I don't know. These guys are very creative, you know. But again, today, since we are here with our guests, let's get to the musical break. We want to start as soon as possible, as fast as we can, so that we can be able to have enough questions in and have you provided with the opportunity to interact with our guests today. Like I said, there will be a lot of questions asked. We are going straight to Nima County today in memory of a late husband. So we're going to go to Nima County today. Stay tuned. We'll be back with no copyright to this song. Share the show. We'll be right back, and strictly we'll bring on our guest. right there. Thank you for sticking and staying with us. Let's get our guests on really quick. Invite someone, share the show as we are about to kick off here into this conversation. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good day to you, Tyler. How are you? Can't we can hear you?
Hello there. I'm
Uh,
sorry. I had it muted.
How are you, Tyler?
I'm so fine. Thank you so much for asking.
How would you prefer me calling you?
Just
Is it
Tyler. It's okay.
Tyler? Tyler?
Tyler is okay. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Welcome to SKTV. I believe it's your first time being on SKTV. Welcome and thanks for accepting our invite.
Thank you so much.
All right, great. Those of you following us on the radio in Liberia, FM 96.1, we want to say thanks to Melbourne and the team for uh, helping us with today's edition, that the Liberian people would be able to hear from you and hear from us as well. Who's Tyler? Who's Tyler? The Liberian people would like to know who is Tyler.
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you so much for having me on. And I also would like to say a special thank you to you and your colleague. I know this interview has been long overdue, and I really appreciate you guys' patience to have me on. Who is Tarloh Quiwonkpa? I'm a Liberian. Um, I was born in Sastown, to be precise. My mother had me underneath the mango tree in Sastown. My mother was never married to my dad. I was one of those outside kids, outside child. So grew up in Sastown. My mom moved to, Newtown. Grew up in Newtown. Had the opportunity to have been adopted by the Wilson, Mary Wilson in Palmer's thank, may her soul rest in perpetual peace. She adopted me because, my mother could not afford to raise me as a single mom. So my dad took me away from her. My dad is the late Lawrence Bounds. I am a Bounds. Most people don't know this. My father's name was Lawrence Bounds, and he had me with my mom. My mom was never married to him, and so growing up with my mother, I saw what life is like living in a home where your mom is not married to the dad and the things you go through. And so I had an opportunity to see all of those in my little young life. As God could have it, I was privileged enough to have gone to kindergarten. The late Peter Bala came to Newtown and they were vetting looking for dancers. And so they saw me and I was selected and I went to kindergarten with my cousin, Nimna Napla. And so I live at kindergarten. The funny thing is that, and I'm writing a book to that effect, you know, went to kindergarten, and at kindergarten, when I went there, oftentimes they will go around and recruit dancers from all over the nine counties. At that time, it was 9 counties. And so we were brought down there, and Mr. Bala did not want civilized name or Congo name. And so, we were told to get up and state our name. And I said, my name is Martha Bounds. And he said, no, 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 no. That your Congo name, we want it over here. So he asked me, and he said, how your mom can call you at the house? I said, my mom can call me Tyler. And he says, what's your mom's name? I said, my mom's name is Muna. He said, from this day on, your name is Tyler Muna. So immediately, my entire youth, those who I grew up with, a lot of them I don't even know where they are. My name became Tarloh Muna. And so when I got married to Quiwonkpa, I became Tarloh Muna Quiwonkpa. So most people think I am from Nima, which I really appreciate because I love Nima. Before I even married to Quiwonkpa, the late Quiwonkpa, I used to go with Nima Bird to Neon Diaple. Vacation time from Kinija, I would go out there. So my roots are in Sino County and also Nima. And I'm a Liberian.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you for the introduction. I think we learned a lot. So that means, in essence, you are either related or connected to former ambassador Nat Bounds.
That is my first cousin.
That's your first cousin, okay?
Nathaniel Bounds and I go way, way back.
Wow.
Yes, as a young girl, this our world is so small. Nathaniel Bounds and I go real well back, and I really appreciate Nat Bounds because in the days my mother used to send me to go and beg for money to my uncle, who was Nat Bound's dad. And I would take the bus from Nikutan. Then it would put me down to Oro. I would walk all the way to Oro to the Bounce's house, Nathaniel Bounce dad's house. And I will go there and I remember him vividly. I would get so wet. Nathaniel used to give me food to eat, because at that time, if we got to be real with what's happening in some of us lives. When you are an outside child, you are not really appreciated by those people who are married and so forth. But Nathaniel always used to give me food. He would bring water. He would make sure, and he was very young himself. So Nathaniel Barnes is my most favorite first cousin, even though we have different political affiliation, which is fine. And that's the essence of democracy.
Okay, wonderful. Well, Nat Bounce, if you're listening, shout out to you here. I've met Nat Bounce. We had the opportunity to interact, and he's been on the show here as well. The first time I ever met Nat Bounce, it's interesting, but this is what he told me. I remember in Philadelphia, he said to me, he said, "Well, young man, you look like a younger version of me." And we laughed. But I'd like to pivot a little bit just to ask you about, and you can summarize it as much as you would like, just for the public to establish this for clarity's sake. How did you meet the late General Quiwonkpa?
Well, I'm writing about that in my book.
Okay.
So I have his memoir should have been released in June, and because it's already been written, the publisher, everything is done. It's just a matter of proofreading and going to various phases, and then I put a stop to it to add my historical how I met Quiwonkpa in the book.
Okay.
So I'm at that stage where should I do it? But how did I meet Thomas Quiwonkpa? Is like any other relationship. I was a performer at Kennedy, and when the coup took place, I vividly recall that Mr. Balatol were assembled on stage, and they told us that the PRC took over and everybody is going to be gone. This place is going to be dissolved. We don't know what's going to happen to you guys. However, we will have a performance. And that very year, I had just graduated. I was graduating from high school. But we were asked to go and perform for the PRC. This is Peter Balana telling us. So he said, after the show, if you are Congo, they're going to kill you. If you light skin, they're going to kill you. So just be aware of this. They are army people. So I think at Kennedy, we were just two light skinny dancers. The fellow name is Sekou Kamara. They call him Benji. He's a Gola boy. And I. So I said, well, I told my girlfriend, I said, well, if they're going to kill me, then they kill me. I will dance, So we went to Kennedy. We went to EJ Roll to perform. And I danced so hard that night. And I remember all of the PRC members were right in the forefront. And during those days, a lot of the ballet we were playing, I played a lot of lead role, the sacrificial victim, so women in the village. And then also the traditional dances, I would either be in the front, be the leader of it, and all of the ballet, I was in front. So I said, well, I know that after the coup, we didn't have food to eat, and I know that Peter Bala said we will not be alive, or those of us who are light-skinned will be killed. I'm going to dance until I die on stage. And I did that. I danced so hard that night. And, all of a sudden, by 1 o'clock, we're going to the bus, because we used to have a bus to bring us to Kennedy, to EJ Raw or Providence Island. And so we sat on the bus, and I couldn't comprehend why the bus couldn't take off. And everybody was asking why the driver can, because we all were on the bus. And to my utmost surprise, Peter Bada came in the back of the bus, because I used to sit in the back of the bus. It's almost 2 a.m. in the morning. And he grabbed my hand, and that time he was accompanied by the late Isa Musa. They came on the bus. So everybody knew now I was going to get killed, right? And so I was asked to leave the bus with Mr. Peter Bala and Isa Musa. And then following the time we exited the bus, I was able to then meet Quiwonkpa. Quiwonkpa had gone to Mr. Bala and said he wanted to see me. And that's how we met. And the rest, I'm not going to go into detail because I'll put in a book.
Sure. But thank you for giving us a snippet of your book. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, or your memoir. Thank you. I appreciate you even diving into that, and I believe our audiences would appreciate that as well. So you did provide clarity and context to something here that most the younger generation would be in doubt of,
Mm-hmm.
that you were not with the late General Quiwonkpa before the coup, rather after the coup.
No,
All right.
I was never with General Quiwonkpa. When I met Quiwonkpa, he told me he was not married, and he wanted to marry me instantaneously. He was never married.
Okay.
He made it clear. So he was not married.
Okay, wonderful. So that's good to know. That's good for historical facts and clarity here. But I'd like to move a little further, because just before we get into what are the politics or other situations, I'd like to also ask you about who was General Quiwonkpa. We've had different accounts of General Quiwonkpa. What would you say, in a nutshell? What would you say?
You know, Tom was a very down to earth, very modest, very modest. Thomas was not a flamboyant person, and most particularly, he was very religious. I mean, his faith led him through life. He wouldn't hurt an ants. Thomas would rather have. In fact, I was the most outspoken person. You know, when I sat in meeting with them or we on the farm, I was the much more, you know, not aggressive, but I would always think ahead of time. He was very quiet. He would take decisions, but he would evaluate it and look at the consequences. He was very tolerant. He did not like corruption. He felt very passionate about children in the villages where he came from, and then having gone to the barracks, they kind of worked the date on people's farms as soldiers. They didn't have good schooling and so forth in the barracks. He went to nice school, and you know, so he was a very down to earth person who was very religious. He was not flamboyant. And the one thing I always like about Thomas, he always told the truth. Regardless of what would happen, he would tell you the truth. He was very, very truthful in things. And if he didn't like something, he would tell you. He never held anything, you know, against anyone. So he was a very unique person who believed in his conviction. Um, he loved his faith and he loved his country. He spent so many years in the army, and he just was somebody who also believed in justice. Injustices was something he didn't like. And so he was very friendly and he was not flamboyant. And he told the truth and very loyal to his country.
Thank you for sharing who Thomas Quiwonkpa was and giving us a broader perspective and understanding. I'd like to push you a little bit, because when you spoke about Thomas Quiwonkpa, you did mention former President Doe as them going to night school. What would you say about the relationship of Thomas Quiwonkpa and Doe? What would you say? What do you know about it?
You know, that relationship is well articulated in his memoir, because before we came to Liberia, when Doe was trying to kill us and were in hiding, Thomas and he sat down and narrated the relationship between he and Doe. So I have that is in his manuscript. But for the sake of your audience, I would not want to, you know, most writers or publisher would not want to take that piece from that book. But I'm not writing the book to make money. I'm just getting the narrative out there to set the record straight. So because of your audience, I am going to state what I know and what's in the book. Thomas and Doe were best friends. They were the best of buddies. Thomas and Doe and Wesson and Portia. Thomas was much more closer to Doe than all of them. And they met in a barracks while going to school, nice school. You know, if you go in the barracks right now, they have a church house. Ellie didn't break that down, but she broke everything down that she thought she could break down to not bring in the memories of Thomas them. The church is still there, and so they used to go to school down there, and that's how he met Doe. And they became best buddy. They wore the same clothes at times. Uh, They struggled together. Thomas met Doe's father. Doe
Hmm.
met Thomas' father. They were good friends. Yeah, very close friends.
Very close friends. Very
Hmm.
good friends. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And I'm eagerly
Hmm.
waiting for that book to come out. I am anticipating. I can't wait because I would like to read a full book and really learn some of these things. But thank you for sharing that with us. But I want to move a little further again in this conversation as we build up here. Um, how do you feel?
How
Just
do I feel?
how do you feel just recounting some of these events years ago, years or maybe over 20, 30 years ago? How do you feel today?
You know, realistically speaking, it used to be real tough talking about it. It was very hard. Even as I speak about it right now, it brings tears to my eyes. I'm sorry. But you have to speak about these things in an effort to teach the next generation. It's very hard to talk about it. And that's why over the years, I have avoided even releasing the memoir
Hmm.
because, when you talk about these things, it's like you. Sometimes I ask myself, why did I stay alive? Because I was much more the one who would always say, Thomas, this guy, why is he here? Why? He said, calm down, Tyler. Why am I alive? Well, I guess God kept me alive to see and to tell the truth. It's very hard talking about it. And I think I have matured enough. And I'm sorry for even sharing tears because I always tell myself when it comes to Thomas, I'm not going to cry because Thomas did what he did. And he felt that his best friend should not have done what he did to his mom to have made Thomas to join the enterprise. And I say this because it's the fact. Some people may say, oh, Quiwonkpa, wait a say he didn't decide. No, Thomas was a man who believed. But sometimes when you don't plan something and then your family get brutalized and ripped, particularly his mother. His mother was beaten by those soldiers really bad, very bad. And as I speak about this, Thomas took that feelings to his grave because it really hurt Thomas that Doe would take upon whatever went on between he and Thomas to grab his poor mom, who didn't know anything about what's going on, and who used to be a friend of Doe, to have sent soldiers in Zagowi to get his mom. And I saw those pictures because
Hmm.
Ellie and Harry Yuan brought those pictures to us in Baltimore. And they tie his mom, and then they beat her up. But the most thing that we were told that really made Thomas angry to join the enterprise, we were informed by Ellie and Harry that Doe ordered the crown soldiers to rape his mom. And it didn't go well with Thomas. It didn't go well with Thomas. Thomas did not sleep all night. It bothered him. Now that I am a nurse, I can now reflect and say he was going through some form of, trauma from what he heard that his best friend did to his mom. Who would want to have an old lady whipped like that? But
Hmm.
here's the good thing. When I went to Liberia, I decided to go to the village in 2010. And Thomas' family were able to tell me she didn't get raped, but they whipped her. They beat her. She was beaten. They even went to his dad's village, Zuole, and Thomas' uncle right now, he is the paramount chief in that village. They cut the guy's toes and they beat all of the family. So I told myself, I said, wow. So they used Thomas' mother was raped to really get to Thomas. And in the end, the villagers, Thomas' family, they said no, she didn't get raped, but they did beat her real bad. They tied her. That thing you call tope and so forth. They did that to her, you know. So Thomas went to his grave thinking that his mother was raped, but in essence, and finding out the truth from those in the village, his sister and brothers, the old man was never raped. But this is what Ellie and Harry you are use. Are you getting me?
Yes.
Okay. So
This is what Ellen and Harry Ewell used, according to you, in Baltimore, Maryland, when they visited you guys, along with pictures.
yeah, they brought the pictures. I don't have no reason to lie to anyone. I went to Liberia and I saw Harry Ewell. I said, listen, it's been a long, long time. And like I said, all of these things, I'm narrating it, but I speak to it because I don't have to lie. There's nothing. Even going back to Liberia, resigning my job here to work for the George Weah government, my girlfriends, people who I work with, they thought I was losing my mind. Why would you let go your you in this position as a nurse manager? And I went back home because I care. So the issue that narrative was told to persuade and using a man's mother, Liberian people, the men, from my childhood, oftentimes when you touch a man's mom, you hit the core of the inner chambers of their hearts. Do you understand me?
Right.
You sitting there yourself. Anybody talk about your mind, it would just make you so furious. So they did a good job by using what is said. But you know what? Again, God kept me alive to see what happened. Because in my opinion, they felt probably the truth would have never ever come out. And that Tarloh, because she came from Canada, she wouldn't have been able to find out the intricate narrative. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And as God could have it, and let me say in this open manner, I always say it, Thomas Quiwonkpa's death is not important than the 250,000 lives that die. He's not important, those people. So I want to say on the show, my condolences again. I always apologize for that. But his life, he's just a single person. Look at all those lives. And that knowing the kind of person he was, he saw the injustices and how the Nima people were being subjected to brutality. But he realized that, he was not on the ground. And when they came to him, he said, no, I'm in school. And maybe what you should do, check the record. Go to Baltimore Community College in Baltimore. He was in school. He was enrolled. We both were enrolled in. See, when the coup took place, Thomas always wanted to go to school. And that's why he said the PRC would be in power for 2 years so they can go to school. And of course, Doe didn't like that. So you guys do your research and go to Baltimore and look up Thomas Quiwonkpa. He was in school. Thomas was always about
True FM 96.1, heart and soul of Liberia.
When they did that, and knowing how Liberians, Nima people were being killed, and of course they brought in that real crazy falsification, despicable lie that his mom was raped, it makes you to just say, yes, human beings, we are, and it would be your best friend because Thomas and Harry were very close friends, very close. He's still in my wedding. And Harry Yuan took my husband. Based on that information, yes, though we're not being nice to Nima people, you guys know the story. Thomas felt he was not in power, he was in school. But when they came back for the second time and said, hey, they raped your mom, and I saw the picture, the towel and everything, he had to leave his school. He could not even concentrate. Think about it. Would you concentrate if somebody did that to you? Would you study? So as I reflect now, I used to see, Thomas would just be so, traumatized about that. Why did Doe have to order the soldiers to rape my mom?
Thank you. I, I want to ask you a question to further this conversation, but I want to read from an interview with the VOA. We were fortunate to get a transcript here, and this is what you said on this interview, sometimes in 2010. Actually, this article was released August 26, 2010. Let me quote what you read here, what you said here. Quote, "One of the reasons why I decided to reconcile is that our people are suffering, and the standard of living here under the leadership of President Salif has tremendously improved. In order to sustain peace in this country, we all need to come together and reconcile with the past. I know it's very hard to forget, but we all should forgive and move on." What do you say today? To you, after 2010, what you know now, based on the information you have, do you still feel the same way?
You know, that interview, it was that with James Butter, right? I believe. That interview, I still feel the way because prior to that interview, Ellie and I were supposed to discuss, we're supposed to meet. The plan was that, let me just tell you how that interview came about. I protested against Ellen Johnson's I live in Minnesota. And during that interview, during that protest, I had an opportunity to have met with her. She had refused to meet with me. Even Natanya Bounds tried to have an audience or create a medium for Ellen to meet me, because at that time, 2010, Ambassador Bounds was the ambassador accredited to the U.S.
Right.
And so it was his role that if the president is going anywhere and there's going to be a protest, to reach out. So he reached out to me and I said, hey, this thing here is not family business here. If you ask her to meet with me, because since they took Quiwonkpa and they having looked back to see what, Tarloh, yes, what's happening, yes, his clothes, whatever. And I have been reaching out to her many, many times and they refuse. I educated myself, and now she's coming to a hospital, the University of Minnesota, where I used to work in the ICU at that time. So she's in my backyard. I'm going to have to protest and ensure that she tell me what went wrong. So at that time, she didn't want to meet with me. Nat Barnes tried to talk to her. I guess she didn't. So I protested, and luckily I met with those who invited her to speak at the Carson School of Management, something like that in Minnesota. I met with them and they said she will meet with you. And luckily enough, she met with me at the Hilton Hotel in Minneapolis.
Right.
Yeah, we met. And in that meeting was Robert Salif, her sister, Jeannie, one of them. Copper Dwyer was in that meeting. So Ellie and I were exchanging, going back and forth, and she was acting as though she couldn't recall. And I said, no. You know what I'm talking about. And so we went back and forth. And so it was at that point, and I'm not a person who likes Ralph Salif. I don't like him. But I respect, and I will always respect Ralph Salif. It was during that interaction, it was very heated between me and the president, because I felt at this point in time, my husband died. You're the cause. And you want to talk something that is not accurate because you're president. I expected her to say, you guys leave, but she wanted to make it look like I was fabricating. In fact, the first thing that came from her mouth was that, why you been lying on me that day? You writing all that kind of thing about me. I said, no, I'm not lying. I'm not lying on you. And so I began to remind her, remember when you came to Baltimore? I gave her the address and I began to talk. So we're arguing, and then Rob said, Mom, to my living God, Rob Salif, I really respected him, and I still respect him from now on. Rob Salif said, Copper Dwyer was in this meeting, I will say again. And he said, Mom, you did this get wrong. Why don't we invite her? Let's go, like she said, Harry Yuan, then we can have another meeting. That's how I decided to come to Liberia. And then Ellen They didn't want to call Harry Yuan. They never called Harry Yuan. So that interview you mentioned, I want to believe it occurred before my meeting with Ellen, I think. I will look back at my records. And today's day, you know, when I went to Liberia, the late Nangwesla was the one who was very instrumental in showing that Ellie and I met. Because Rob Selly, who I was depending on to have me meet the president, you know, they were playing that kind of delay tactic, like you should be so submissive to them or you should be calling them and say, hey, I'm like, no. The plan was for me to come home for us to have this discussion with Harry, you and Ellen, because Ellen said she couldn't recall. But now on the grounds, and you guys just play every time I call, I say, well, if that's the case, so then Mr. Nangwesla was very instrumental, and I called him. He was at Dusa Hospital. He was not feeling well. And I remember in 2010, I had taken a lot of medications. When I learned he wasn't feeling well, I contacted a fellow in Minnesota who gave me his direct number to Dusa. And I said, hey, my name is Tyler. I said, I'm in Liberia. I said, what's going on with you? I said, I'm a nurse. And I got some medication here. What do you guys have at Dusa? He said, oh, Tyler, you know. So he said, I will be discharged tomorrow, but I want to meet with you. I said, good. I said, I want to meet with you as well. And so he and I met, and I told him, he said, what are you doing in Liberia? I said, well, and then I explained. My ticket to Liberia was an invitation by Ellen. So I said, ever since I came, it's been almost 2 weeks now. They're just playing this delay tactics, like they're acting too busy. You know, they try to kind of play me low, And you know, in Liberia, I have not gone to Liberia in many years. When you have your hand in the alligator's mouth, you got to take it out slow. Crewmen say, come and check. Take it out easily. So when I met with him, I said, listen, they are not trying to make this meeting happen. But here's the deal. If you can just find me Mrs. Dole, I want to reconcile with her. You know, she and I, Thomas introduced me to her. We're friends. So he, Nangwesla, ran with that to the president. Then the president held that meeting with us, the follow-up. And following that follow-up, I kept asking for our meeting with Harry Yuan. It never happened. So the interview happened because my hope was that it was going to, you know, you can't be in Liberia and don't talk about, because I went there technically to make peace. And that's when at that meeting, I would have told Helen and Harry, what you guys said about Thomas' mother being raped was very wrong. For me, my hand can't feel nobody mouth. The age where I not reach now, the thing where I not see in my lifetime. The struggle where I not go through. My mother being a single mom with 3 children, are the oldest. And she was never married to none of these people. That married man she followed, she had all of us. I saw her, there was no food, and I see all kinds of struggle. Then for me to even go through house arrest, self-imposed house arrest. So I don't see everything in my little lifetime. I don't have to lie. I was going to ask Ellen, but they refused. So that interview you're talking about, my hope was that we're going to make everything better, and that though they said that I was going to forgive, but I wasn't going to forget, because I know Tom took that with him in his grave, and he took the wrong information. But yet we didn't have the time to talk. So I stand by that interview because I was very hopeful. I didn't go to Liberia to be facetious. When there was genuine reconciliation effort, and it didn't happen. It was just another formality, photo opportunity that went on. Even when I met with Ellen, she asked about her running. I said, you want to run? Yeah, run. In the first place, I stood out in my little weak way and said the Liberian people shouldn't vote for her. They voted for her, and she was in power. She had access to state resources. So who is Tarloh Quiwonkpa to stand and say, no, don't run? No, I didn't go that, but she asked me. I said, sure, go ahead. Of course.
I wanted to.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tyler. Thank you for providing clarity and context, because yes, the photo ops, we do have a copy of the photo with you, Ellie, and someone else.
And Mrs. Doe.
And Mrs. Doe.
Yes.
Yes, but I wanted to tie in the Nancy Doe's piece before we move any further. I'd like to tie in the Nancy Doe's piece. What is the current relationship with you and Nancy Doe? What would you say?
You know, to be real frank, Nancy Doe and I, since we met that time, when I got married to Thomas, the PRC wife, I never used to go to Mosul because they didn't know me. I knew Father Vani's wife, who is currently in, I know her. But some of the things they used to say, because for me, I was from Kennedy, I've been involved in, I was a co-chair for the grievances committee. So I used to say things and they used to resonate with some of them. You know what I'm saying? So I never used to waste my time. I mean, I would see them, we would meet, you know, but you say stuff. And that's why it's very important for us to educate our women. So Nancy Doe and I, we don't have any tight knit relationship per se. We'll meet, we'll talk, and following our follow up with the president, I never saw her. But when I was in Liberia, I tried to go find her. But you know, my feelings, I tend to listen to my inner self. I was in Liberia for 3 years. I just got back last September. And I knew her house. I passed by all the time. But I was not prepared to go and see her. And I kept that as a, yeah, I was not prepared. I was not ready to go and see her, you know. So I never went there. I never want to go see her because I felt that my spirit at that moment, I told myself the time would come as I'm staying in Liberia, the time would come, but I wasn't prepared to go there because I was there to do a job for nurses, you know, and meeting her was going to be sometime down the line. It was not a priority at the time.
Okay, I'd like to ask you maybe one more question on
Sure.
your husband and your relationship with other people, especially key players, as you've claimed, Ellen and other people. Most recently, there's a news outlet in Liberia that reported something that I wanted to bring to your attention. The Daily Observer
This
on,
station
on
rules
March
the nation.
on March 10th of 2020, the Daily Observer, I think, reported a piece about Armed Forces Day in Liberia. Let me read that really quick here. Um, momentum, monument, monument to Quiwonkpa. That's what it states here. Quote,
Can
today
you
he
say
is
that? I'm
gone.
sorry. What it says, monument, or can you spell that?
Monument, Monument, and then
Okay.
it says to your husband. So,
Okay.
so, so it was just a piece that was reported. Let me read it really quick.
Okay.
Today he is gone, but nothing is left of him as a memorial for someone to lay with or pay homage on Decoration Day or even on Armed Forces Day. And this was said by one Ebenezer Williams. Here's my question to you. Following the death of your husband, 1985, um, since you went back to Liberia, or you've been back to Liberia maybe one or two times, or even more, I stand to be corrected. Um, any memorial, anywhere we can go to commemorate your husband's?
No, thank you for asking that. When I went back home, the family, I can't do anything about memorial without Thomas' family in the village. When I first went, I talked to his uncle. We planned that. You know, we want to do it, and they were going to help me drive that. Um, I went to Liberia, and that was the fifth item on my list to do.
Hmm.
I kept in touch with them. We were wandering in the village there, and then some of the uncles said, you know, in San Quide. I said, okay. So then we didn't get to it because my workload, things that I was doing, and then I could see how my expectation of the job, what I expected, was not in line with my philosophical belief. And then I know it would take time to get that structure. You know, for me, I don't rush with stuff. The memorial, you're right. You would think Harry Yuan, the very Harry Yuan. Harry Yuan is from Nima County. You would think I was in exile. I could not have gone there. You would think if Harry Yuan was a true friend, he would have started something. But memorial, you know, those who died during the World War II in America, those German people, it is never too late to create one.
Hmm.
It's never too late. But you are absolutely right. Even those so-called pneumocockus, those people, corrupt bunch of people, they don't have the gut feeling. Even the Prince White Johnson, who claimed things that he said, which is all fabrication, and I don't want to even go there on this program. You would think he would have some sense of reasoning. You would think so. But what I can assure you, memorial or no memorial, Thomas have died. He died. And those who die because of the despicable conflict between Thomas and Doe, they have not even yet gotten a memorial. So you look at the Ellen, the Harry Yuan, the Prince Johnson. These are all people who use other people to get them where they want to be, but to bring unity, unification in truth, authentic sense, they don't want to do it because they want to keep our people behind and blind and just have our people to be so dependent on the 2 cents or the Beckerites that they would give them versus saying, you know what, this war, 250,000 people died. Let us create this. Nima, Bon Kante, what do you guys think? Because our people will become enlightened with the facts. But don't worry. Like I said, memorial is memorial. It will not bring them back to life. But the essence of remembrance and historical value should be tied into that. So that these things that happened in the past, as we bring on the young generation, it doesn't happen anymore. And that's why it's so disgraceful that George Weah came to power. He has not given himself time to look at the historical nature, the historical aspect of what happened in that country. Because that country needs a leader who will not just build authentic memorial for Quiwonkpa or the 250,000, for those who are executed. We need that. We need a leader who will look at the root cause, because most Liberians right now don't even trust anybody. We need a leader, and no other person can do it right now is Tiawan. I know you ask questions when it comes to that aspect, but I'm just telling you, what we need is a leader who would not just stand there and say, how can you build road when the people in that same place you're building a road, that children were buried in graves? There's massive graves. They buried them in that same area. People know about it. George Weah, I've not even said those people who went beyond, who didn't cause this war. Every day you hear him speak about when I was ambassador or my foot. He needs to be able to unite the people. Liberian people let day by day business. You can see it in our country. That day by day business, you can't play with it. You think what happened in that country? Women, only children die. So we need to have a leader who would be comprehensively to not just say, we'll be hospital here, we'll be this. There's a lot of issues wrong in our country. We need to look at other nations' best practice and bring it and merge it with ours to move Liberia, so we all can become united. But it has not yet been done.
All right. Well, thank you so much. This is now we're going to transition to the politics or talk the regular.
I hope I didn't get you started on that.
No. But just before we transition to the politics, I know. Melbourne, do you have a question before you go to the news bulletin there really quick?
Yes, but I think I'm getting information that we should continue with the program. So I want to say thanks for the management.
Okay, wonderful. Well, you see, we just show up on the show and then we just get all the blessings. So you see that now. Yeah. So we fall down inside today. But let's try to transition. Just before we transition, I want to read this from the Los Angeles Times This article came out on November 16, 1985. I want to read something that's in here that I thought was very concerning. I also thought, since you talk about execution or so forth, listen to what those stated as they got the transcript and they brought to us here. Listen to what those stated. This is those former President Doe's speaking. Let me start from the headings here. Doe also announced on radio and television, broadcasting in this West African nation, that anyone found on the streets after 6 p.m. curfew would be considered a rebel and executed immediately. Listen to how Doe put it. Quote, the situation in the country is very tense. I repeat, if you are caught 1 minute after 6 o'clock, you will be executed. Doe said foreign diplomats backing the curfews will face the same full force of the law, he added. This is President Doe back then talking about execution and so forth. But this is this is my question to you. Over everything that has happened over the year, how have you managed to cope? And do you have, let me ask this broader question. Do you have any children with General Thomas Quiwonkpa? How are they coping as well? If so, what do you say before we transition into politics?
Yeah, here's the deal. When I got married to Thomas, Thomas had kids. I think they were like 4 and 5. I have my own child. I have a child. We had, in fact, my son was 3 months when Thomas and when Ellen and Harry took Thomas. He was 3 months old. He was 3 months. I had him here in Baltimore. This is my biological son. His name is Yomi. But Thomas got kids. His first daughter name is Cole. Cole is in Bum County. When he and I got married, I went and got her from her mother. He also has Gonkama. Thomas Gonkama Quiwonkpa is in Liberia. Dede. And then also Jirate. So they're in Liberia. But my own child, and I had to raise all those children in Liberia. They used to come, but my own son, as God could have it, I conceived while we're in school here. It was never planned because in Liberia, I had a couple of miscarriages and I had just given up. I said, I ain't be trying to born no baby. So here I decided to adapt. So we came to the States under that 10 circumstances. And then I got pregnant. I didn't even know if I was carrying twins. Up until the 3rd month, I realized I was pregnant. So I do have my child. My child is here. And my son was 3 months old when Thomas left to go, accompanied by Harry Yuan. At that time, Ellen was in Cote d'Ivoire. And I want to believe that I'm the kind of person, I gain strength from, I don't normally feel pity for myself. When adversaries come to me, it gives me strength to move on. Of course, I pray. I'm not a very religious person, but I do believe in God. But what kept me going, because I know something was not right. And in an effort to let it out, so Liberians like you could know what happened, because I came from Canada. When I came to the States, I couldn't speak. I was speaking Liberian English like anybody else. But when Thomas died, I didn't put my hands and feel sorry for myself. I was pretty young. I was 22, 23 years old when Thomas died. I could have gotten 3, 4, 5 children here and be on the system and get a couple of welfare dollars and food stamps and get a big house from the government. No, I felt that something was fundamentally wrong the way in which Thomas died, and Thomas' best friend never came back to say, yes, Thomas closed, and Ellie never So I need to find a way to get out there. And my biggest thing was that I want to be able to debate two people, Raymond Family and Ellen Johnson Sirleaf.
Why is that?
Yeah. Because, because of their connection to the enterprise. They had to screw up the way they screw up. So I decided to go to school, learn, and it was not easy. I didn't have government money. Thomas Quiwonkpa was never corrupt. I came here and I worked mine behind like any other person. So I told myself, one of the reasons why, and I was a little bit frustrated because I made all effort to meet Ellie and Harry, and everywhere I went, I followed Harry Yuan to Rhode Island when Ellen came to campaign, and then I would hear she's there, and then North Kiddo, the former representative, they would be going to, and Frederick Knockett. I will follow them. I say, listen, you guys, I want to see Ellie and Harry. And when I go to that program, they don't want to even talk to me. I mean, I would shake their hands and say, Madam Ellie, I want to talk to you. Okay, after the program. After the program, they were not even lay their eyes. They were just, it hurts so bad. So I told myself, I said, well, maybe because I'm not educated. And so what I decided to do, I used those instances to say, well, I better educate myself so I can debate these people after things I've heard, and to be able to get the facts of how these things happen. So I use education. I mean, I was in the library. I'll go to the library like 8 o'clock and I wouldn't leave. They used to kick me out. They would turn the lights off and I would be at the computer. To empower myself with Eddie, I would read and read and read and go to school and go to school. So books and knowledge kept my mind off the fact that, Thomas was dead. Sometimes I never even thought about it until I go home and see the baby. And of course, having a child was also soothing. But just the fact that there was so much to read, it took my mind off of that. And I was not just reading, I was preparing myself. And that's the reason why when in 2005, Ellen ran, I was already a nurse going for my undergraduate degree. I felt it was the only way. So what kept me going was reading books and also guitar. I played, music. Sometimes, I would just take my guitar and create some songs and, melody and cry and lament about things and then put it down. And then another game I used to play was some Mario game. I don't know if you heard that Mario game.
Mario, yeah.
Yes. I would play Nintendo game. My son used to like it. But I got so involved. So those things kept me going. But most importantly, I felt that in an effort to get the facts out, I had to be able to equip myself with knowledge, go to school, read. Then one day I will be able to debate Ellen and family and get the truth out. So that's why I got my strength. So I didn't feel sorry for myself. When things are going wrong for me in my life, I find an avenue such as reading and going to find facts, and that way it keeps me much more focused.
Okay, that way it keeps you much more focused. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you're just joining us, we are here in conversation with Tarloh Quiwonkpa, the wife of General Thomas Quiwonkpa, and a lot of revelations have been made today. Very, very interesting and very intriguing. It even pushes more questions to the point I don't want to switch to the political side, because understanding the historicity of some of these things and gathering the facts from you, hearing from you about some of these things, they're very interesting, and they provide clarity and context to some of these missing pieces. We've always wondered where they were or what was really happening, because some things might not have added up. So that being said, we at the very end, before you leave, we might dive into the part. But I think the public is very interested in the facts, in understanding some of these things and hearing from you about some of these things. And it is not intentional to try to get you, in a state, but at least let's hear from you today. on some of these issues. Melbourne, do you have any question or concern before we move any further?
Yes, yes.
Please go ahead.
Just go ahead.
All right. I don't know about the network. You getting me?
I can hear you.
We can hear you.
Okay. Yeah. So I want to say thanks to Mamuna because she our mother. I know the pain and the frustration and everything that she been going through. But howbeit, I want to say thanks to the Almighty God. Yeah. Yes. So a revelation, is something that just so interesting. Myself, it really brought you into my heart. But I think our husband was around 30 years old when he died. I think I'm correct because from his date of birth up to the time that he died. Now, I want to know, Mamuna, whether you were in country by then or you already left, and if you left, how do you escape, or if how you left from Liberia? That one. Two, do you support the TRC or process, or you really want the war crime court to come to Liberia? Thank you so much.
Sure. So let's see if I understood the question. You asking how did I leave Liberia?
Yes.
And at what point of the event did I leave? When he died in Liberia after the failed coup? And then the other question is, what was the other question?
Whether you support the TRC process, the truth, yes, or do you want the war crime court?
Let me start. I support the TRC 100%. I do. And let me say this. When the TRC was collecting the data, I was in Minnesota, and they came to Minnesota. They were in St. Paul at the Hamline University. I went there so they can interview me. I was knocking on the door. They locked the door on me. The wicked people. I went there. They refused to interview me. So what I'm meaning now, 250,000 people died. You're conducting interview. Quiwonkpa will stay alive. You're not interview her. My own part, I got nothing to hide. They rejected me at that interview. They had a lot of people there. They had them talking. So what I did a couple of years back, I asked Vardia. I said, well, how can you guys interview me? And he was very remorseful about it because Ellen told him not to interview me. That's what he told me. I hear Ellen now that they're going after. Yeah, you see how the people can be so deceptive. But let me ask you, wouldn't you want to interview me? You see anything inside there that talk about, how come they will interview Lou and all the people they interview me? So I really would like to see the TRC come to Liberia, because it will not just be for Prince Johnson or the other people. Ellen will have to get involved. As a matter of fact, didn't they say Ellen should not vote? Didn't she get banned? Didn't she? Not to even vote when that thing came out. But the international partners, they sat there and Ellen voted. Nobody said, free. Uncle Sam too. Now, in an effort to move Liberia, we have to have justice. We cannot be blind and say we're speaking somebody commit crime in Dupero, Yoko, police arrest, they trying in the courthouse. When you have the nation suffer lost, there are people there who inflicted the worst kind of crime, and they're passing by every day in BB cars. So I support the TRC. And I hope that TRC can bring an addendum and let them interview me too. You ask the question, what did make it interview me? How can you interview me? Am I not in Liberia? Why? Why would Ellen tell them not to interview me? Am I not in Liberia? Only because some of these things that I'm seeing would have been interjected in it. So I left. And for me, we can't say you put a former president, Charles Taylor, in the Hague for another country when we got so much issues. We are just being deceptive. So I will support the war crime court coming to Liberia. I do. By all means. I hope I answered your question.
Yes. Thank you so much for that. And the second question?
What's the second question?
How do you left Liberia?
I try to avoid that.
Okay. No problem.
So, no. Technically, realistically, I should say, when Thomas went back, I was not in Liberia. I was in Baltimore. When Ellen and Harry took Thomas when he died, I said I had a baby. The baby was 3 months old. I was in America. So when he died, I was in America. I was going through my own stress. So I was not there.
Okay.
If you're talking about when Doe was running after us, that's a different story. It would take too many days to explain. But we're right in Liberia. We're hiding. We're on the ground. The same people who Doe are saying they should kill all the people, the same so that they were protecting us. I can't go there right now, but yeah. And so we stayed there 6 months on the ground. They try all those people who bunch of fabrication. The Nimare, all that stuff was not. That Nimare was playing by Doe. That Doe doing. That Doe playing. In that book, that Doe playing all that stuff. Imagine the Nimare happened were on the front. You guys heard all that part.
Right.
Make it now. Quiwonkpa, who was a military man, he will leave Nima when the thing happened. Then he go by Maria because our farm was right by the border. We could just cross the river and go. What he was making now, he would come point, he's saying, oh, the gate and come back to Maria. Because his conscience was not clear the way Rawa died. So he decided to come to Monrovia to tell Bishop Francis what happened so the truth can come out so they don't say the Guillapo fighting amongst each other. In the book, I don't want to give this juicy part up because it's something people need. It was Doe who planned that stuff there. And I was there. I witnessed it. I was there. I saw Robert body when he died because I didn't believe it. I went there myself. I saw where he got shot. The person who shot him, I didn't even saw that person. Somebody who never had gone before. Because Robert came to kill us. Doe sent him. You will hear all the things in the book. The truth must be told. So we went on the ground and we managed after 6 months to try to people for the Nima Ray, all that nonsense, I said, people can lie. They fabricated. We were watching it on TV while we were on the ground. And in the end, they released it. And mind you, one of Thomas' bodyguard, it's here talking, he's still alive. He was part of those who they charged. Because he Johnny Ball Heron. He's in Massachusetts. You know? So we stayed on the ground, and people who didn't know us, they helped us, and we left. All that thing Doe was doing were in Liberia. That's why I can tell you guys, I not live my own life, and I see what I not see. I ain't got to lie about nothing. The truth has to be told.
Wow. Let me ask you this question, please. I know we're tight with time here. We're watching the time to ensure that when the time comes, you can leave. But let me ask you this question. You probably might not answer this question, but I'll still I'll try my luck, like we're saying in Liberia. What really happened between Doe and Quiwonkpa? Considering you said they were best of friends, what really happened?
That is seeing people that Elena. That is seeing people, and I want Joey. I gotta open your eyes. That is seeing people, the very people, because Doe Quiwonkpa and the PRC members, they were not seasoned politicians. While it is true that they provided information that led to the execution of those 13 ex-officials, they were not happy those people got executed. So what I saw, Ellen was between these people. You know, Ellen kind of like a female grasshopper who here and there. And most of the people there, they know what I'm talking about. They created this atmosphere, and then they begin to bring, you know, for an example, Thomas will say, you know what?
Truth FM 96.1.
Let us turn this thing let us return to the barracks in 2 years. Though we go to some of these same people, oh no, don't go to the barracks. Stay in power, stay in power. So it brought a rift. You know what I'm saying? It brought a rift. They will still stay in power just to see conflict between him and Quiwonkpa. And then, of course, Though himself was not academically smart, and they will use that now and start to go after him, which they did in the end. But if Though had listened to Thomas and said, let us return to the barracks in 2 years, because Thomas' plan was for them to go to school, and Though didn't. So in the end, Though saw Thomas as a threat in terms of not wanting to have the military stay in power for the length of time. Though wanted to be in power. And Thomas, it just became in a way. And to Thomas' utmost surprise, when Though went to Ethiopia, Though got some advice from Mengistu Haile Mariam, in addition to what this Ramsey guy, advised Though when Though came from Ethiopia. Mengistu advised him to remove Quiwonkpa from the barracks because he saw Thomas Quiwonkpa as an impediment to him staying in power, and that Quiwonkpa had too much influence on the soldiers. And so he removed Thomas and put Thomas as secretary. Thomas said, listen, I've never been secretary in my life before. I don't want to go. If that is the case, I would just resign from the PRC. You see what I'm saying? So that's what happened. But Though and Thomas were always good friends. They were best of buddies until until Thomas made him who he was, because Though was never part of that coup.
Let's speak to that. Let's speak to that.
Sorry, it's in the book. I just want us to be real truth,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So we can't wait for this book, but the statement you just made is a huge one. Though was never part of this coup. Quiwonkpa made him.
Yeah. People know that. It's out there. I'm sure you've heard that.
I've heard it.
It's authentic. The narrative is what you don't know.
Exactly.
The narrative, the intricate part, where Though was, how it happened, who went upstairs, the eighth floor, I got all that stuff. I didn't write it. Quiwonkpa wrote everything down. But realistically speaking, Samuel Kyan Though never took part in that coup, the night of the coup. This is a fact from Thomas Quiwonkpa explaining it, even those Wesson, and that's the reason why Though ridiculed Wesson. I was listening to one of the guys' testimony on TRC. I think indeed Deacon Carloh was talking. One of the reasons why Though hurriedly went executed Wesson, because Thomas and Though argued over Wesson stuff in the barracks. I was there. They took gun at each other. Nobody know that other story there. He won't kill Wesson. Thomas said no. Though took a pistol. Thomas took a pistol. John Henry can attest to what I'm talking about. So I really believe that I'm alive. I don't deserve to be alive. I'm not special. If it's anybody who can even, always bringing and raising concern, it was me and Thomas will always look around. But there's a reason why I believe I'm still alive. So the truth can be told. Because I am not looking for money. I don't want money. I came here, I educated myself, I took student loan and stuff. I don't need no money from nobody. Justice has to prevail. We can't say we are a democratic nation and we don't give justice to the people who deserve justice, and those who inflicted injustices to our people are driving the most expensive car, eating the most expensive food, and flashing water, dirty water, on our people who they cause the worst human rights violation upon. We need a TRC. We do.
So we're trying to open the line just to get one or two calls. I'm tempted not to do that just before you leave. I'm not sure what your take is on it, just to get one or two feedback. But you are making some startling revelations here that puts this whole thing in context to some extent. So let me push a little further on this part of the question. So Thomas Quiwonkpa was interested in going back to the barracks, now wanting the military to continue to rule the country rather than turn the power over to surveillance, as we would say.
Steve, let me ask you: you haven't heard it? This is not a hidden story. This is.
I have, but you confirming it,
Yeah,
and corroborating it. It's a big deal. It sets the stage for further questions as to. Let's take for example. So if the military wanted, if he was insisting that to go back to the barracks, what threat did he pose after he resigned that made Doe to have gone after him when he went to the village?
oh yeah. He posed a very because Doe did not take part in the coup the night of April 12th. He was not part of that. It was Thomas who took Doe to the EFBC and made him, and that is the animosity that Wesson had on Thomas. And every time there's an issue, Wesson will always. I'm referencing things that I saw in the barracks, and John Henron. I will keep seeing it. He was. When they were in the barracks in the house. The BTC house was just a 2-bedroom house. You talking here, you can get the next person, Doe was very intimidated because he felt that so long Quiwonkpa is alive, Quiwonkpa putting into power, he felt Thomas was going to go after him, and Thomas was not even after Doe. Thomas made it clear they will come to the barracks, but man, change your mind by this seeing Thomas said, no, we are not capable. We are military. We need to go. He said, I want to go to school. Doe didn't feel secure. He knew how the army people used to love Thomas. Thomas was also one of the people who, when they took over, when they were inflicting and abusing those that they overthrew their family, Thomas was there. Even Thomas' wife, it was Thomas who bought her plane ticket to leave Liberia. Thomas was always protecting them, and when people go and when Pennon, when they go see these people, think Thomas will say, take it back. So Thomas was always on his side, and I think Doe saw that, that he could not have allowed Thomas to be the strong man, as they used to call him. And if he's not in the army, if he's civilian, he saw Thomas as a threat because Doe didn't take part in the coup. Doe was not in the coup. Even the planning from Thomas' narrative. The only reason why they made Doe because he was the only master sergeant. These guys were all PFC, whatever. And you should give Quiwonkpa respect for that. That's the kind of person Thomas was. For those of you who don't know Thomas Quiwonkpa, that's why sometimes I listen to people talk over the years. They didn't know Thomas. They didn't know Thomas. If Thomas wanted to be millionaire when the coup took place, people brought him, he refused it. Thomas never stole free from nobody.
Can I ask you a question? Can I ask you this question? Based on what you just said, and I'm not, I'll come back to this conversation, but I want to, based on what you just said, do you think Thomas made a mistake of making Doe, quote unquote, making Doe president as opposed to him taking over?
I don't think Thomas made a mistake. Thomas was looking at the country in terms of respect. He didn't make a mistake. He didn't. This is something, I'll tell you the truth, when I read his manuscript and when he used to explain to me, he channeled the entire coup. And again, that's why when you hear me say, my poor, sorry for all that happened, because my husband was part of it, and I apologize. But a lot of the things that went through, when you read some of the injustices, the military keeping guard at people's homes, on people's farm, they don't take pay, their children not able to get school money, or mothers, it just was not right. Even that you own a person farm working, they cook good food, they don't feed you. That's kind of a like slavery type behavior. And I think the Rest Riot, when the Rest Riot happened, Quiwonkpa Battalion was brought from Todi. And what he heard Talbot say to the soldiers, that even made him to keep planning this stuff and to bring all these guys, even though some of them from his narrative, they had their own plan, but he saw that it was not even possible operational wise. And so they joined him. So the thing they went through, if people don't understand, nobody is saying that you should take people's lives. In fact, the whole thing was not to even kill those 13 people. But again, and I listen to some people, they don't know the facts. When those people died on the pole, Quiwonkpa was in Maryland. Because when the coup took place, my brother, all kinds of soldiers were just impersonating. It was not easy. So Quiwonkpa had no regret. This is what he said. He planned to make it, and he said it mainly so they can have respect for the coup, because military-wise, to have those kind of low-ranking soldiers, it would not have been good for the country. He put the country first. So he made Doe. Doe was never there. Doe never went to the mansion. So the story can come out. Doe when he killed Nelson Toe. Doe when he killed what the man name said? Thomas Wesson. Quiwonkpa is the only person who knows the truth now. So he got to get rid of Quiwonkpa. So Thomas, no, I can tell you this to the fact. And if you think I'm lying, there's a guy named John Heron that was Thomas' #1 bodyguard. They both know the story I'm telling you. Thomas was not. The plan was to make Doe, because in an effort to respect the nation and the coup, since he was the highest master sergeant, he made Doe. And that's why. So I don't think he didn't, he never had any remorse about that. Are you there?
Yes, we are here. We just try to project you so that people can see you. I know we're winding down here. We are winding down.
So Steve, this I think they should give the Liberians, the young generation who didn't know Thomas, to think about this. Thomas was not a person of an ego, me. Imagine you go into a kind of like a war. You don't know whether you're going to come back. And everything operational wise went through, and then he makes somebody who didn't even participate. That's the kind of person Thomas Quiwonkpa was. He was a decent man. He put country first. He loved Liberia. He saw the rest riot. What Talbot told the soldiers to go and do, to shoot the people. Don't kill them, but just shoot them. He took offense to that. Those were Liberian children. The same soldiers that they brought now to kind of stabilize the rest riot. Thomas was part of that battalion at the mansion. When Talbot told them, you shoot them. And one soldier asked, you say we should shoot, should we kill them? Say, no. Thomas said, don't kill them, just shoot that leg.
So let's move a little bit to the 13 men that were executed. Thomas had no role in it, as you said.
I'm telling you, I don't know if they're keeping those records. Thomas was in Maryland, and when the coup took place, if you talk to those people who were in, much older people, whenever Thomas went anywhere, because they respected him so much, and the violence in the various countries was just so high. When he came, those guys were already executed, and he and Doe had it up. I am telling you what I saw, what I could hear them argue, even when they have conflict and stuff. Thomas would raise it and bring it up. We remind Doe, this is not how we should do these things. Just the fact that those people were executed openly is a disgrace to Liberia. He told Doe that. But it happened now. When the coup took place, it was a mess, chaos. Everybody was going to loot. People were looting, killing in the interior. So he had to go.
Wow, you have unpacked a lot of things. We have about 12, 13 more minutes here with you. Melbourne, do you have any question before I come in with my last two questions? And Melbourne, do you have any question?
Yes, I have a question. My question directly with, in fact, will have to do with the military coup. Planning a coup, I think, is not one day thing or something. Sometimes it take long. And you being a wife at that time, I don't know whether you were with him at that time or you were still maybe out of the country.
Okay, which one? The 1980 coup you're talking about?
Yep.
No, when the 1980 coup took place, like I said in the beginning, as soon as it took place before EJ Raw, then Thomas and I got married. So it was during the it happened. Then he saw me. Then we got married right away. So I saw some of those real busy time when things were happening in the barracks.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
So would you say the rest riot or the death of your husband, which one of them pushed the 1990 war? What would you say to provide clarity and context? Which one would you say? Because we have misinformation, conflicting information. Some people say, some people make it about the Congo and the country.
The 1990 war.
Yeah, what actually exacerbated or pushed us into that to go there that far?
Realistically speaking, let me tell you something. And the 1990 war, you're talking when Taylor came in, right?
Yes, the Taylor. Yes.
If you listen to one of the BBC reports, I think Taylor was interviewed on BBC or either VOA. And I'm going to really think about that before I speak. Because I remember when Taylor was interviewed, Taylor did say it was a continuation of the Quiwonkpa, something like that, to that effect. BBC has that. And I also think, the issue here is that there are too many injustices. And why it is true that I believe listening to that. I'm sorry?
No, go ahead, please. We're listening.
Yeah, your question, the answer to your question is from what Taylor said, I guess the 1990 war was part of Taylor continuation. That's what they went through. Nima uses people. So I guess the way in which Thomas died, it was they utilized the sorrow, the feeling, the emotional state of mind the people of Nima were in, and Taylor made it clear on BBC. I'm not making this thing up, my brother. Taylor made, if you ask BBC, Taylor was interviewed. He said this is the continuation of the Quiwonkpa coup. He said it, and I heard it. So yeah.
Tyler, we were not there a couple of years ago, and according to you, you were very vocal, and we can see from just the interview, you speak your mind, you don't hold back, you're clear. But where were some of your advice and recommendations as a wife to Thomas Quiwonkpa? Where are some of your advice and recommendations? What would you say to the public?
Well, it depends on what it is I'm advising him on. Like any other. I'm sorry.
Let me restrict this to the coup and his return to Liberia and this whole military thing.
What I saw, the way in which Doe hunted us to the extent where sometimes you're sleeping underneath a car just to hide the things you didn't do. And then in the end, those sent your own tribesmen to come and kill you. Let me tell you something. When Thomas was leaving, when I had a baby, even though I was very excited, I wanted to follow them. And that's when Harry Yuan said, no, you stay. I will be your eye, nose, ear, and mouth. I said, let me come along. There were times things that were happening even in the barracks where he and Doe were fussing. And I said, Thomas, tell him how you feel. You got to say it. Say it in a way where you guys can, Thomas was a man. He would listen, but he knew how to make things mellow and say from a perspective that will be in the best interest of the country. I say, if you know this is happening here and you can't understand, Find somebody else, go to the bishop, let them talk with him about it. Those kind of way I would just interject, because though once he became the president, he never listened to anybody any longer. And that was a little bit frustrating because things Doe was doing, just like how Joya is behaving, it was so embarrassing to the nation. And the international partner, the US, people were getting embarrassed. And when he go to advise, they always say, I'm the president. You don't have to advise me. Someone will say, oh, so now I can't advise you? And when he bring that kind of discussion, I say, then maybe you should talk to the bishop to go a year ago advise him.
So you mentioned something that caught my attention, and I thought to bring it into the conversation. You mentioned something about seeing Ellen and whoever else encouraged Thomas to go back. You mentioned about clothes. Why is your clothes important to you? Why is that?
Well, at least it will be the last physical content. You know what I'm saying? He had his wedding band with him. He also had my son's picture when he was leaving, and just having his clothes. You could take that, and it would also bring. They would not bring him back, but sense of to at least have something in remembrance. Harry Yuan didn't bring it back, and didn't bring it. So I just thought that, when I was at Kinija, and we used to go to various little towns and stuff in Nimba and stuff. Though I didn't join the Sunday Bush, but oftentimes when the girls go to the Sunday Bush, if one of them didn't make it, they will come, bring the little traditional stuff, and you will know if your daughter didn't make it, because they had a team that would have a little gold pot, and they would bring it to the mom, and the mom would know that her daughter didn't survive or her daughter died in the bush. So by doing that, at least, it brings a sense of, and it will be that person clothes and everything will be in it. You know what I'm saying? So I just felt that if these people were human beings, they know that he had his 3-month-old baby picture, and my picture was also in his wallet. Why would you want to do a dead man clothes? Wouldn't you want to take it back to his family and say, at least it would bring some sense of, they wouldn't bring him back, but at least, you can live for it and show to your grandchildren this is what he wore. You know what I'm saying? That all I was asking for that. And I think anybody would want to do it. When people family die, you see they say, somebody gave clothes away and so forth, or they take certain things. I just needed, even if it was his shoes or whatever, just bring and say, these are Thomas things. Harry never did that. And then Harry and Ellen took Thomas. I stick to it. And I will stick to it until I die, because that's nothing but the truth.
Here's my last question, and maybe you can close up because we have 5 more minutes to hear.
You even asked me about Gonglo. Gonglo is the next president of life. What kind of business there? Huh?
So here is it. Tyler.
Gonglo will be a better president. You won't ask me free about it.
Here is it now.
Why is that? You being biased.
No. Wait. Here is it.
You didn't tell me, say, this year will be all Quiwonkpa story. That's what I expected, but I feel that I owe you guys to explain. Right. But let's talk about today's job. We talk about one. Okay, so I'm a Gonglo person.
Okay, so let's get into since you are insisting. Let's get into.
Wait, not correct, Steve.
Let's get into 2 questions about Gonglo and George Weah. Let's get into 2 questions about that quickly.
Please do you mind?
Okay, so you said something that was very important, and I think the nature of my question would come to the connections that you said. You said your husband was never corrupt. He was an humanitarian. He stood up for what is right. He was patriotic. Do you see a component of your husband within Tiawan Gonglo that triggers you to want to support him? Or why is it that you support Tiawan Gonglo?
I'm supporting Tiawan because I believe in the rule of law. I believe that Tiawan has the prerequisite. He understands the law. He has been fighting for human rights. Um, I mean, his records are there. He's consistent. The guy, what I really like about him, we protested here in the United States against Ellen at the United Nations, and we have some boys on the ground in Liberia. When Ellen arrived, we sent them, we said, go protest. MOLA, Movement of Liberia Against Corruption. I was the co-chair. And they arrested all the boys for nothing, and they put them in jail. They beat some of them. You see, Ellen? Tiawan went. At that time, I came from work. Everybody came to my house. Tara, what are we going to do? I said, don't worry. I'll figure it out. I put my cap at being the team. So I said, okay, well, let's send some money and find a lawyer. By days break, they said, oh, one lawyer, pro bono lawyer. I said, who was this person? They said, Tiawan. Tiawan never called us. The man went. I never even called him. I was so embarrassed. I said, okay, well, he's a Liberian on the ground. He knows he's a lawyer. Until those boys were released. I never spoke to Tiawan. Some of the team members called him. I said, yeah, Until in 2018 or so, when I came to get my clothes to go back to Liberia, I saw Tiawan. He had come to some invite. That was the first time I met him, and I told him, thank you. I like Tiawan. I believe Tiawan is going to unite our people. If you look at his track record, he's not corrupt. He believes in the law, and he speaks truth to power. And here's what I think Tiawan will even do that I really like. Tiawan, given his background, Tiawan will be able to sit down. Look, when Tiawan came to the States, the guy was reading up until 4 o'clock in the morning. Tiawan will read every document. Yes, he will have people around. You have to trust his advisors and stuff. But before he affixes his signature, he will ensure. And I think he wants to bring a brighter Liberia and bring technology for our. Look at the school people that building in that country. No computer. Tiawan came here. People promised him. Tiawan want to ensure that the educational system, our agriculture. Why are we buying rice? 80% of the rice we bring in the country when we have rich soil. I believe in Tiawan. And yes, you're right. I see some comparison in Tiawan that was in Thomas. The honesty. No, I'm telling you. When Tiawan says something, he holds on to it. He is not afraid. He speaks out. All of these things are things that Thomas believed in. And I believe that when Tiawan becomes president, he will make sure justice. I mean, look at his track record. When you have young girls raped or killed or beaten, Tiawan go there for free. You don't even charge. Because under Joria government, most of the lawyers are not even taking pay. Joria has made our lawyers and our nurses to be beggars to the extent where lawyers have to even get part of the land they fought for a client, take half of that land.
Thank you.
I believe Tiawan is going to bring innovative education. The health sector will be looked at, the roads. Put our people back to the soil, like Torba was trying to do. And if Tiawan doesn't do it, we'll protest against Tiawan.
All right. Let me ask you this last question. You can give your partner comment and close on this because I know you have to go based on the conversation we had. So here's the last question. But there's also a popular demand that you please come back to SKTV. So I want to put it on you on the public so you can be on record. We come back. Let me ask you the question for my last question. You will come back to what?
Anytime.
Okay, very good. Okay, no problem. We'll schedule part 2. But here's the last question I want to ask. One question, but in 2 folds. Did you support President George Weah to become president? If yes, why? And also, you resigned one of your most recent positions you had in Liberia, which I would not call, you can call it. I'm aware of it. So, can you please answer those two questions and you can give us your partner comment?
Of course, I did support George Weah. Now, if you say supporting him, the support that I did not support him financially. I didn't do it. I didn't donate any funds towards his. I didn't do it. What I did, I got on the air. In fact, Eugene Facon and I used to get on the radio. And George Weah himself called me when they were going for the second round. He and Prince Johnson called so I could come on the ground. But I was teaching full time at the college. And so we decided that I'd stay until after the election. So I was calling cells on the ground, calling places, getting on the radio, but I didn't contribute any financial import. When I went to Liberia, I even went to, because I'm not a full member of sedition or just a sympathizer. Then I decided to say, let me become a sedition when I got on the ground. So I went to what a guy named place, Molba Molu. They gave me the form. But then I begin to see things, I'm like, why are you guys doing this? Why is this happening? Then I could see the corruption. I could see the injustices. I could see people who are not even qualified. And then I could see things. I'm like, really? And then you go and talk about it. They shut you off. And I'm like, no, this is not what I expected. So I saw too many things that were not in line. And in fact, not being able to reshuffle his government after things were happening on the ground. When they took money from the partners' coffin to do all kinds of nyama. Those things were not in line. And then besides that, I tried to give my own personal advice and so forth. In fact, went to his office, met with one of his advisors. The person said, you know what, Tyler, that's not that we see. I mean, I'm going to cheat because that person who you want to talk about, you have concern that a man best. So I said, so I was disappointed. And most importantly, they didn't try the Ellen's government. They didn't. When they made us, so I became a CDC sympathizer based on the fact that I made all effort during Ellen's time to come back home. She refused. And when I saw George Weah, who understood nation building from the perspective living abroad, and he had the numbers and the young people, and he was able to, create a soccer. When he came to Minnesota, I remember I brought some soccer balls and T-shirts. So I felt he was the right one to bring about the change and to also hold Ellen Johnson Sirleaf and her corrupt people to books. But he didn't do it, let alone. In fact, I was one of the main people who was vehemently lying because one guy always said, Tyler, you in America, you don't know. Ellie is the one who put in Joe Weah in power. I said, oh, that's not true. Until I went on the ground, what I saw, the things that I saw, Joe Weah is heavily involved with Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. The deception. They had all the protests, toting the casket. In the end, Ellen Johnson is the one who running the show along with McGee. And it's just made me so disappointed. And I saw that in addition to the corruption at the Ministry of Health and the deception. You say you have 10 nurses going for training. When you look, they're not even nurses. So it's a bunch of family people. So those things were not my kind of a fortale. And I'm like, I can't be a part of this. They were not even paying me. So if you can't listen to me, if I give you honest opinion, why am I here? You don't need me. And here's the thing. People will say, but if you want to bring change, why you didn't stay there? Listen to me. When you have 20 people and you're the one person among all the 20 people who got bad behavior, how can you even break anything? They will kill you. But I have decided that I will come and say things so we all who in the diaspora can try by means to collectively unite and see how we can work on the ground and move things, because most of the people on the ground, they don't want us back home. They want things to be the way they are so we can be backwards, because they are getting maybe peanuts and little dollars to sustain themselves, but they don't want to see innovation in Liberia. So I only resigned because I couldn't stay there. I could have stayed and say, oh, chief nursing and midwifery officer, the partners, I talk with them, they like my roadmap and stuff that I give. But I felt that George Weah failed me from the get-go by not, for instance, he went to to Bummy to go visit the clinic. He was not even going to the hospital to see him because Dr. Jala called Edwin Snow. Edwin Snow made sure he didn't go in the hospital because I wanted him to see the ICU, what they call ICU. Nothing. But Dr. Jada made sure she was on the phone with Edwin Snow. And when the president went to Bummy, The personnel never told the hospital. He just stepped outside because it was despicably terrible. What they said they had it, they never had it there. Just la. So when I saw all of those things, I said, no, I can't be playing deceit. It's not part of my nature. And so I resigned. Are you there? I can't hear you.
Yes, Steve, you are muted.
Thank you so much. And so I resigned. What will be your parting comment for today? Because we'll have to reschedule to reconvene. Thank you so much for sharing with us
I just
today.
want to say thanks to you and your team again. I appreciate you being so patient for this interview. It's been overdue. And I'm also would like to apologize to your listening audience. They didn't have the time to interact, to ask their questions. I look forward to having to, answer their questions. I want them to know that I don't hate nobody. I don't hate George Weah. I don't hate Ellen. We all have the right to be able to live, and that's why we have democracy. We are all human beings. My child is not better than the child living in Zogowi. Every child deserves the right to have what that God-given talent should be brought up to. And what Weah has failed to do, I don't know if your audience even know, most of the people working in government are children in America. I can't grade on a child here, half a job. All the children going to decent schools. Why can't we? We say free education. Free education right now that they speak of the CDC is like giving a person a cell phone, you won't give no battery charger. And they have no idea what to find it from. The schools do not have laboratory, no library to even get to school. Their mom, parents not taking pay. To even register, you have to use data. The data system connectivity is so not strong. Only those 1% people who got everything enjoying the country. So I saw that and said, we can't sit down and keep our mouth quiet. Who will speak for those voiceless people? And that was someone else came back and said, you know what, we will ensure Georgia is removed. We want every Liberian to be able to go to school, have a library. We want a mother to go to work, have her money, buy her child uniform. We want everybody to be entitled. If I want to buy a cell phone in Liberia, have the money. It shouldn't just be for the rich. And, so that is the reason why I'm encouraging everyone. If you see wrongdoing, speak up. You're going to church all the time in that country. When people see you, just keep your mouth quiet. You have to keep your mouth quiet. Your talk, say it not correct. And that's why I'm doing this for. I can stay in America and be in a hotel or whatever house and live there. I got my food. I got everything. I got money. I can feed myself. Why am I hedging my head? My husband died. Like one other boy told me the other time in Liberia, one city said, oh, and your husband. I said, that's okay. He must have been real sweet. And why should I even stay thinking about Liberia? I could be doing something different. But I still think there's a better Liberia. And that better Liberia is going to be with Tiawon Se Gongo as president of Liberia. So I thank you guys, and I look forward to the next interview.
Well, thank you so much. It's an honor having you here and all of the information you've provided. Have a good weekend or good week. Thank you and thank you. Well, Melbourne, this is wow.
Sometimes there's some guests that when you bring on, you just got to relax. And because when they are talking, you just got to give them a chance so that they can talk. Because the more they talk, the more they bring out, a lot of things. So actually, I think we got to find another chance to bring on another, yeah. But anyway, I want to say thanks to the team. And for those of you that are in Radio Land, I know I started receiving a lot of text messages. People want to call, people start calling, but actually, that will be on next time. Yeah, when the team invite her the next time, then you will call in at least for you to be part of the program. So so Steve, we had to go. We left with 3 more minutes.
Yes, let me make my wow. First of all, thanks to the team back home for at least not interrupting or not switching on. Let me use the word switching on to the news bulletin today. This is mind blowing. To be quite honest, the revelation is startling. It's big, but we have Tarloh back by the grace of God. We'll coordinate with her based on her schedule, and we'll announce it to the public ahead of time. And this time around, the public will have time to interact with her. We'll try to restrict our questionings and provide more time for interaction with the public so that she can answer some of these questions and provide clarity and context to some of the questions that people might have. But I want to say thanks to our viewers and our listeners. Sekou will be back with you here during the week. We look forward to the weekend. There are a lot of calls that have been coming. People want to come on. The political arena battle get juicy. Come on, Buga Denso. I say, what's up? You know, there's someone for the church today. I saw come on, Buga Denso again, showing Wapi or something like do. You need to smoke behind.
But man, that's a film.
They make something. I was sending a picture to you. The men were throwing Wapi in church.
Really?
I said,
no, but you know, through that last Sunday, I saw there are a lot of dress code that you're going to see.
My man, someone a wet suit is throwing Wapi. I'm not wait. Come on, Buga Denso say that noise. The other noise are behind you. Won't bring different noise.
Yeah. I said, my brother. So that's it, man. Actually, my man. You just gotta send me that video, or in fact, you had to get that video in queue for us.
Oh, they come on, Buga Denso
that video gotta be in queue for us, maybe on Monday. And it's play that video.
Yeah, I will chunk it there so that so we can get hit on it and you listen to the beginning promoting come on, Buga Denso again.
I said,
the next level. President up there. But thank you so much, gentlemen. We say thanks to all of you. Let's have a good week, ladies and gentlemen. Have a good new week. Stay blessed. Stay out of trouble. Stay safe. Melbourne, that's how we call it a day.
Yeah.
Thank you, and thank you so much for all you do. And thanks to the management and the team out there. We say thank you. We'll go back to Nima County as we get out of here. Let's go back to Nima County. Ya go Nima, ya see it.
When they say Nima that development, Nima ya see, oh, Nima ya see, Yago Nima ya see, oh.